in the Buddha's Dhamma and Sangha. Until enlightened I seek refuge through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dhamma and Sangha. Until enlightened I seek refuge through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dhamma and Sangha. Until enlightened I seek refuge through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, subduer of the Shakya clan, prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings. To you, completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, completely perfected, fully awakened being, knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings. To you, the completely and fully awakened one, endowed transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world, to you who wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like spotless moon, colour like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. Saviour having great compassion, founder having all under, field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to moral precepts. To you, sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha. To all 3, ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bound with bodies as many. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. From Bushida's hundreds of gods, protectors, to tip of this fresh, pure, white heat, curd like cloud, O Sandrapa, Dharma's omniscient king, pray come to this place with your disciples, in space ahead on lion throne, and moon, venerable gurus, shine brightly with delight. Pray stay hundreds of eons to spread doctrine as supreme merit. Fill for my mind of faith. Your wisdom I see, full range of knowable. Your eloquent speech adorns fortunities. Your beauteous body, fame, glory, outstanding. Homage to you, worthwhile to think of here and see. Pleasant offerings of water, various flowers, fragrant incense, light perfume, and so on. Oceans of offerings set out and envy, offered up to you, supreme field of merit, non-virtue committed with body, speech, and mind, which I have heaped up since beginningless time, especially what has contradicted three vows. Each I confess from my heart with strong regret. In time of strife you strove to learn and pray, shunned eight mundane concerns, made life essence-full. O protector from depths of our heart, we rejoice in your powerful great deeds. Venerable Gurus from love and wisdom, clouds densely massed in your Dharmakayas, pray loose a rain of vast profound Dharma on fields of disciple just as need. May whatever virtue that I've here gathered bring benefit to all beings and doctrine, and may it make venerable laws and essential teachings specially shine forever. Me me je wei de jen jen rei, dri me ken bei wambo jam pao yang, lu po ma lu zhong ze zhong wei da, kan jen ge bei zu gen song ga ba, lo san dra bei shab la su wa de. O glorious and precious root Guru, pray take seat of lotus on my crown, caring for me with your great kindness. Attain body, speech, and mind. O glorious and precious root Guru, pray take seat of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kind. Bestow attainments common and supreme. O glorious and precious root Guru, pray take seat of lotus at my, caring for me with your great kindness, until supreme awakening remain steadfast. Heart Sutra. Homage the exalted three jewels. Thus have I heard at one time. The Blessed One was dwelling on Rajagriha on Vulture Mountain, together with a great assembly of monks, great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That very time, Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness and inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, how should a child lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the Superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, Replied the Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whichever son or daughter of lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this, subsequently looking perfectly correct to the emptiness and inherent existence of five aggregates also. Form is empty. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty, without characteristics, that is, they are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement, they have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factor, consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no object of touch, no mental phenomenon. There is no I element and so forth, up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, no cessation of ignorance and so forth, up to no aging and death, no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Because their minds have no obstruction, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond error, they attain the final state beyond sorrow. All the Buddhas who reside in the three times, by relying upon the perfection of wisdom, become manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal, the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it is not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata gate gate paragate parasam gate bodhisoha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, a great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child of lineage, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as if taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. In the holy supreme abode of the Dakinis, possessed of clairvoyance and miraculous power, unwaveringly caring for practitioners as your children, homage to the host of the three places Dakinis, Akasamara Chasadara Samaraya Pe. Akasamara Chasadara Samaraya Pe Taya Ta Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Soha. Through the power of truth, the exalted three-jewel speech, may all in the side of negativity, such as the four maras, be stopped. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. All enemies, obstructors and hindrances, Shanti Kuriya Soha. The 80,000 types of obstructors pacified, freed from adverse, harmful conditions. May all be conducive and perfect auspiciousness, bring happiness and well-being here, right now. Sashi Bhagi Joye Meda Rari Rablingji Nidegembadi Sa ge charan zoge jonam la janju baru dani gyasu ji lagi chejin ge ve zonam ge enye zange de parasho zange charan zoge jonam la janju baru dani gyasu lagi chejin ge ve zonam ge rola benje zange de parasho zange charan zoge jonam la janju baru dani gyasu ji Lagi chajin give zonam ge dola benje zange dobajo. Usually when the lamas offer mandala, they don't do it just like this, you know, with empty hands. So usually you see putting a mala or something like that. Geshe Tsorga used to often used to do it with just holding his bell. I don't think he did the mudra under there. He was just holding the bell, but so not offering just empty-handed, you know. Just off your phone, you know. Okay, so let's do a little meditation on the breath. I think we all know the meditation posture. The main thing is to keep your back straight. Up to your neck, and then your neck is bent just very slightly forward. And bring your mind inside, away from external distractions. And once inside, try to keep it away from internal distractions, mainly the discursive, chattering mind. And find your breath where it goes out and comes in through your nostrils. So that's where you focus your concentration on your breath, on the breath going in, coming out. So then generate a strong determination. Now I'm going to focus on my breath without allowing myself to become distracted by anything whatsoever. So then with that strong determination, just try and keep your mind on your breath as long as you can. Remember last time we said about 95% of your mind is focused on the breath, mindfulness or remembering, just remembering what it is that you're supposed to be focused on. And the little 5% of your mind is acting like a little corner of your mind, acting as a sentry, watching for distractions and deflecting them before they can drag the main part of your mind away from the object of concentration. So if your sentry falls asleep and you get distracted, the moment you notice your mind has gone off your breath, just drop whatever it was that distracted you. Don't keep thinking about it. Just come straight back to your breath. So, we probably have to keep doing that over and over again. But if we practice, then we'll finally be able to concentrate for longer and longer periods on the breath. So let's do that. So now let's take that to the next level. We'll just add the 9-round breathing meditation. So here we breathe in through our left nostril. Inhale through the left nostril, exhale through the right nostril. 3 times. Then 3 times inhale through the right nostril and exhale through the left. Visualize that. And then 3 times in and out through both. So, to make it easier at first, look at me. So when you breathe in through your left, block your right nostril. Out through the right. Three times. And 3 times the other way, right in through the right, out through the left. And then through both together. So let's do 2 or 3. Do the 9 rounds 2 or 3 times. In through the left, out through the right, in through the right, out through the left, in and out through both together. 3 times. add one more visualization to that. So visualize surrounding you in all directions throughout infinite space are all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas sending you enlightened Bodhicitta energy in the form of blissful white light. And inside you, all your negative karma, suffering, delusions, problems, illness, sickness, whatever it is that you don't want, is inside you in the form of thick black smoke. So now this time we start exhale through the right nostril. So when you exhale, visualize all that negativity. You're breathing out all that negativity through your right nostril. And it comes out of your nostril and then disappears across the horizon and dissolves into nothingness and no longer exists anywhere. And when you breathe in through your left nostril, you're breathing in all the enlightened energy in the form of blissful white light that fills your body and mind with radiant white light and a feeling of great blissful happiness. And then next exhalation again, breathe out the black smoke, goes to the horizon, disappears, dissolves, no longer exists anywhere. Breathe in through the left, all the enlightened energy in the form of blissful white light fills your body and mind. So then do 9 rounds like that. Generate bodhicitta motivation. So this is something we should really do before we set out from home to come here. Well, we should do it all the time, really. But, particularly when we're doing a Dharma action, like, thinking about the Buddha's teachings, we should definitely do that with Bodhicitta. So I think, the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering, bring them to enlightenment. In order to do that, I first have to reach enlightenment myself. In order to reach enlightenment, I have to generate and realize bodhicitta. So therefore I'm going to participate in this class, studying the Buddha's teachings on bodhicitta. These are Mahayana teachings, and they passed from the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, in two lineages. The wisdom lineage went to Manjushri, and the method lineage went to Maitreya. And from Manjushri passed those teachings to Nagarjuna. Maitreya passed the method lineage to a Sangha. And then through a succession of great Indian masters, both lineages were combined in Atisha, great Indian master Atisha, who brought them to Tibet. And they've continued in an unbroken lineage through Tibetan masters, through the Dalai Lama, through our teachers, down to us. Particularly channeled through the founder of lineage of Tibetan teachings that we follow, the Gelug lineage, the founder of those, Lama Tsongkhapa, whose the anniversary of whose 600th anniversary of whose parinirvana, or passing away, we celebrated here yesterday. So when Atisha came to Tibet, he arranged all the Buddha's crystallized all the Buddha's teachings into a step-like path we call the Lamrim, or stages of the path. And then Lama Tsongkhapa gave many commentaries on Atisha's first Lamrim text. And then other lamas gave commentaries on Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, including Pabonka Rinpoche, who taught liberation in the palm of your hand, at his place near Lhasa in 1921. And then those teachings were edited by one of his closest students, His Holiness Trijang Rinpoche, who was the junior tutor of the present Dalai Lama, and also Trijang Rinpoche was also the root guru of founders of this organization, Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So 37 years after Pabonka Rinpoche gave those teachings, they were published in Tibet in 1958. translated in the 80s into English. One of those translations is the one we usually study, Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, and that's the outline we have on the screen here. The outline of that text. So the commentary has 4 main sections. You can see the greatness of the authors given to show the teaching has an immaculate source, greatness of the Dharma given to increase respect for the instruction, how to teach and listen to the Dharma that has these 2 greatnesses, and then the sequence in which we're taught the actual instructions. So as you can see, that has 2. The root of the path, which is devotion to the spiritual guide, and the most comprehensive commentary on that is Lama Zopa Rinpoche's book, The Heart of the Path, which I think we have here. So then having developed devotion to our spiritual guide, then there's the greater training we should undertake. So that also has 2 parts, the stimulus, the encouragement, the exhortation to take the essence from our perfect human rebirth. And then how to extract the essence from this perfect or optimum human rebirth. So then we have the 3 main sections here, training our mind in the stages of the path shared with the small scope. So the practitioner of lower capability will just focus on these teachings in the small scope, which will be impermanence and death, 3 lower realms, refuge, karma, those kind of topics. And the second one is the training the mind in the stages of the path shared with the medium scope. So the goal of the first one is just to not be reborn in the lower realms. The goal of the second one is to attain liberation from cyclic existence altogether. And the great scope is for those like us who want to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings by developing bodhicitta, practicing the Mahayana. So if we want to practice the great scope, we have to train our mind in the lower scope, which we share with practitioners who are doing that, and then go through the second into the third. Okay, here we are. So training the mind in the great scope. So that has these 3 sections. So teaching that the development of bodhicitta is a sole gateway to Mahayana teachings and teaching its benefits. I think Geshe taught that before he left. And the next section is the way to develop bodhicitta, which is what we're talking about these weeks. And then there's after developing bodhicitta, how to train in the bodhisattva deeds. So the way to develop bodhicitta has the actual stages in training and developing bodhicitta through the ritual of taking vows, taking the bodhisattva vows, 18 root vows and 46 secondary vows. And then the activities to train in after developing bodhicitta. Apparently that's very secret because there's no sections. When we get there, we'll know. So the actual stages of training in bodhicitta. Training the mind by means of the sevenfold cause and effect instructions. So last week we did the first one, which is not really part of the seven. It's the basis, this equanimity or equilibrium meditation that we did last week. So now we come to this actual sevenfold training. So there are 6 causes leading to one effect. That's why it's a sevenfold cause and effect. Not to be confused with the 7-point mind training, which comes a little bit later. Sevenfold cause and effect meditation. So the first cause is understanding all sentient beings to have been our mother. The second is remembering their kindness. Third is repaying the kindness. Fourth is meditating on the love that comes from the force of attraction. Fifth cause is great compassion. Sixth is altruism. It's really more than that. It's like some great intention or extraordinary aspiration, something like that. And then actually developing bodhicitta. So there's this little book, which is, we had copies of it here once, but it's been out unavailable in book form for a while. How to Generate Bodhicitta by Rinpoche. Anyone familiar with that? Yeah, don't steal my lines. So if you were to go to Google and type in Ribur, R-I-B-U-R, Bodhicitta with a C-H, you would see how to generate bodhicitta on lamayeshe.com, and it says here available as an e-book. Actually, if you click on that, you'll see this, and then you can download a free PDF, and there it is. So that's that. Yep. So we're making, through the kind auspices of Austin's wife and Vistaprint, we're printing these charts at some time in the next couple of weeks or whenever. Then we can put them somewhere or have them available where you can look at them and it's like I said, it's a roadmap to enlightenment. You can see where you are now. And if you're familiar with this outline, then whenever you go to a Dharma teaching by anybody, if you know the outline, you know where it fits, so it's not confusing. as to, does this apply to me or not? You know, you can see, you know where you are on the path, and you know, usually right there at the beginning, and it's all stretching before us. And when you listen to a teaching on, karma or emptiness or bodhicitta or whatever it is, you know where it fits with everything else, and it helps contextualize it for you. So this Lama Ribu Rinpoche is a big reason why we're here today in this place, because when we started the centre like 30 years ago, Lama Zopa Rinpoche was in Boston giving some teachings, and the Geshe Jumper, who was the resident teacher at Milarepa Center in Vermont, came to see Lama Zopa Rinpoche and said that, and he'd been coming to Boston once a month to at the invitation of some of the older students to give teachings, and 25 or 30 people would come along, and then you go back to Vermont where there were very few people. So he thought it made more sense the other way around, that he should be in Boston where the people are and go up there once a month. So then Rinpoche agreed and said we should start a centre, so we started Kurukulla. He gave the name Kurukulla Center, we started the centre. And first the teachings were Wisdom Publications Office, which was on the corner of Newbury and Mass Ave, opposite where Tower Records used to be. There was quite a big bookstore and had a big space where we could have teachings, so we did that for we did that for a while, but then 6 months after Geshe arrived, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and unfortunately he passed away about a year later. So then we had some visiting teachers come, and then in '93 Geshe Tsorga came, and we shared him with Milarepa Center in Vermont and Kadampa Center in North Carolina. So we do 3 or 4 months in each place, and then for 3 years that was the deal. And then after 3 years, everyone wanted him to stay at their center, and we won. So Geshe Tsorga stayed here, and we had teachings in a variety of places, and finished up mainly being in the Friends Meeting Hall in off Brattle in Longfellow Park, near Harvard Square. But for a number of years we really wanted our own place, but it just seemed like a dream, that there weren't that many people and there were no millionaires, and places were really expensive. So anyway, long story. We looked at a lot of places. We had a building committee and nothing was turning up. And then Lama Zopa Rinpoche came again one time, and he said, if you want to remove obstacles to finding a place for the centre, you should invite Ribu Rinpoche to Boston to give teachings. Like that. So we invited for a year, then next year we invited him, then finally, I think in '99 he came. And we had a meeting, community meeting with him, and he said, of course, it'd be great to get your own place, but most important thing is everybody working together harmoniously, and like that, really. But he also said that in Tibet, the people who worked for the government, people who worked for salary, when they got paid, the first thing they did was cut off the first part of their salary, a certain amount, I don't know how much, to use to make offerings. That was the top priority. And there's something Shantideva says in Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, isn't it? It's something like, if I give, what shall I eat? This is the mindset of a hungry ghost. if I eat, what shall I... Did I say that the right way? If I give, what shall I eat? So if I give my money away, there won't be enough left for me. So that's the mindset of a hungry ghost. If I eat, what shall I give? That's the mindset of a god, a superior being. So the most important thing when we get money is to use part of it to make offerings. And, you know, if you know anything about karma, it makes sense that giving is, selfless giving is the cause to receive. Generosity is, of the two things we have to do to receive perfect human rebirth, a few things, but the main things to receive a perfect human rebirth is generosity, practice generosity and morality. And the first of the 6 perfections is generosity. So it's the Buddha taught it's very important to practice giving. And so Rinpoche said that. So then we thought, well, maybe we can come up with a plan where we get, 20 or 25 people to commit to give a portion of their salary to the building fund. Not forever, just for 5 years. And we figured if we had 20 or 25 people giving 10% of their salary, which is kind of like tithing, right? We could somehow raise $500,000, which we thought would be enough to buy a centre. Anyway, so nobody wanted to do that. But some person said, I'll sell some Microsoft shares, I'll give you 50 grand, and some people offered this and some people offered, well, I don't know about a percentage. Some people committed to give $1,000 a year, 5 years, or 5,000 or something. So anyway, we managed to scrape together enough, a couple of 100,000, and then we found this place and we put the money down. And we, one of the students made a commitment to live here and pay $1,000 a month rent, which helped persuade the bank to give us a mortgage. So that's how it happened. So it's by inviting Rupa Rinpoche, just coming here once and giving that talk, somehow it all came together. So he gave these teachings, I think, in Singapore on how to generate bodhicitta. And he was one of the last living disciples personal disciples of Pabonka Rinpoche. And he was at these teachings, the liberation in the palm of your hand. And when all the Tibetans fled, so many Tibetans fled in 1959, he stayed, and then he was in prison for a long time. And then eventually he was released. Anyway, his life story is in here. If you download that. So with respect to this particular meditation, the Sevenfold cause and effect instruction, he says you begin by meditating on equanimity, which we did, and then proceed through these 7 steps. He calls the 6th one the extraordinary intention. Altruism is a bit kind of weak, really. So the first 6 points, recognizing all sentient beings as your mother and so forth, are the causes which give birth to the result, bodhicitta. The way in which these realizations come about, step by step, is that bodhicitta, the thought of attaining enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, arises from and must be preceded by a sense of responsibility. So that's this going backwards. The sixth one. In Tibetan, the term is laksam, which is sometimes called extraordinary intention or exceptional attitude or universal responsibility. It's a feeling of responsibility, personal responsibility, to benefit all sentient beings. For this intention to come about, you must have a powerful wish for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. That is great compassion. So the fifth one. For that to arise, you must have developed affectionate love towards all sentient beings. So great love. At the moment, like now, we have affectionate love for our dear ones, family, children, so forth. But we don't have affectionate love for those who are not dear to us. In order to generate this affectionate love toward everyone, you must develop a deep sense of closeness towards sentient beings. And the way to do that is by recognizing all sentient beings as your mother, recognizing their kindness and generating the wish to repay their kindness. So these first three. So these are techniques for training our mind. Training our mind according to reality. These aren't sort of psychological tricks, that sentient beings haven't been our mother, but we just pretend they have been. Or, or last week, equanimity, Sentient beings aren't really equal in having been friend, enemy and stranger to us since beginningless time, but we pretend they are in order to develop equanimity. It's what we don't see is reality. So this is also training our mind to see the way things are, So this instruction is called cause and effect technique because the later points arise after having generated the preceding points. So it's kind of a psychologically logical progression. You should not approach this practice with a short-sighted mind thinking, oh, this practice is too advanced for me. It'll require so much time, so much energy. I'll not be able to develop such a precious mind. This is not the right attitude. You should not have such fears because these instructions are very profound and powerful. If you continuously train your mind step by step with persistence, there is no doubt that you'll succeed. Generally speaking, all the instructions from the old Kadampa tradition are very powerful and effective. So the Kadampa tradition was the tradition that arose in Tibet from Atisha's teachings and from his disciples, particularly his translator, who was a manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, Domtomba. So Atisha had many disciples who we call the Kadampa Geshis. They weren't Kadampa Geshis right at that time, but that's what they were called in retrospect, after the tradition was founded. So has anyone seen the video Mystic Tibet, which was filmed during Lama Zopa Rinpoche's trip to Tibet in 2002 with a bunch of students? I think 40 or 50 students went with him to Tibet in 2002. It's on YouTube, I think. Mystic Tibet. It's really interesting. And they went to a lot of these, you've seen it? They went to a lot of these places, and Retting Monastery, which I went to in '93, it's an amazing place. That was the first, there was a main monastery established by Domtomba, and a lot of the Kadampa Geshis, Chekawa, Potawa, they all have stupas for these great Kadampa masters. And there's a valley that from Lhasa you go east and through the Pembo Valley, and there's a lot of Lungri Tampa Gompa is there, and there are a lot. If you can go to Tibet, I mean, you can still go to these places, I think, although it's not like it was. I heard His Holiness the Dalai Lama once said that if it's possible when he retires, whenever that'll be, if it was possible to go to Tibet, he would retire to Retting and live out his days in Retting, which was where the first John Tombo established the first monastery. And so these Geshes, the followers of Atisha, they're called the Kadampa Geshes. And one of their main practices was asceticism and fighting the 8 worldly dharmas and developing bodhicitta and practicing thought transformation. Generally speaking, all the instructions from the old Kadampa tradition are very powerful and effective. On top of that, so the Gelug tradition, Lama Tsongkhapa's tradition, developed. It was really, it was the continuation of the Kadampa tradition, really. And the Gelugs were also known as the New Kadampas. Now that name was appropriated by another group called New Kadampa Tradition in the last 20 or 30 years, but they're sort of outliers. It's kind of like a cult. But they appropriated the name. On top of that, there are instructions combined by the great Lama Tsongkhapa, whose experience was based on his special relationship with Manjushri, with whom he had direct communication. So these instructions are extremely powerful and effective, so you should not think that they are too advanced for you and that you will not be able to develop bodhicitta. So then he talks about developing equanimity, which we talked about, practiced last week. And then on that basis, then we start with these then we start with the first cause, understanding sentient beings to be the mother. This is one of the old textbooks we used in the Kopan meditation courses back in the 70s. Lama Zopa's Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun. There's my crazy notes all over it. So on this, Lama Zopa, the first one, Lama Zopa Rinpoche's heading was, "How are all sentient beings my mother?" That's a question we all have, right? And I think I mentioned last week, whenever Atisha was travelling around, whenever he saw people or insects, he had immediate recognition that this was a mother in a previous life. And he had a feeling of closeness with all sentient beings. So Rinpoche divided into two: scriptural authority and logical reasons. So Nagarjuna said, this is the scriptural authority, "If we divided this earth into pieces the size of juniper berries, the number of these would not be as great as the number of times that each sentient being has been our mother." Actually, since time is beginningless and sentient beings have been circling in cyclic existence, it's actually infinite, the number of times. But just to try and get our mind around it, if we divided this earth into, you've seen juniper berries? They're pretty small. Think blueberries, or you can think rabbit poop, if you have rabbits. But dividing the earth into like that, I mean, that'd be a lot of little balls. So sentient beings have been mother a greater number of times than that number. Nagarjuna said. So the reasons are, first is because of beginningless mind, samsaric transmigration is beginningless, and my previous lives are numberless. But due to individual karmas, my present mother has not been my mother in all previous lives. For instance, when this mother was an elephant, I was an ant. Born from a mother ant. When I was a yak, she was a flea. I don't know. Anyway, you could think anything. But, you know, our present mother has not been our mother in all previous lives. However, the mother of my present human life has been my human mother numberless times. She has also been my mother when we were turkeys, hens, cows, ants, etc., countless times each. Of all the realms of samsara, there is none in which I was never born. So wherever there is in cyclic existence, whatever realm there is, whatever kind of life there is, we've had it countless times each. I've been born in every single place throughout the entire extent of space. Each and every physical form in existence, even the most ugly and miserable of all, seen or not seen by me, I've taken innumerable times. So this is actually something we meditate on. Finally, the time when sentient beings began to be mother does not exist. Such a time, when sentient beings first began to be mother, such a time is not the object of even the omniscient mind of enlightened beings. So it cannot be that of the limited mind of ordinary beings. And what is true, as above, for my present mother, is also true for all other sentient beings. So let's just meditate briefly on those 4 points. So first think, because of beginningless mind, samsaric transmigration is beginningless, and my previous lives are numberless. But due to different individual karmas, my present mother has not been my mother in all previous lives. So you know, there are 2 kinds of meditation we do. One is concentrating or focusing or placement. Stabilizing meditation has different names for the same thing. Which, like meditating on the breath, focusing our mind single-pointedly on an object and keeping it there. The other kind of meditation is analytical meditation, where we take concepts such as this and think about it. See if it makes logical sense. Because of beginningless mind, samsaric transmigration is beginningless, and my previous lives are numberless. But due to different individual karmas, my present mother has not been my mother in all previous lives. However, the mother of my present human life has been my human mother numberless times. She has also been my mother when we were turkeys, hens, cows, ants, all other kinds of sentient beings born from mothers. She has also been my mother in all these different forms, countless times each. Of all the realms of samsara, there is none in which I was never born. I have been born in every single place throughout the entire extent of space. We see these, exotic creatures found in the depths of the ocean and, rare species just discovered in some jungle, insects, animals, reptiles, whatever they are. We've been that, not just once, countless times. Finally, the time when sentient beings began to be mother does not exist. So when you put all that together, what is true for my present mother is also true for all other sentient beings. So then, having understood that, then we have to remember the kindness of the mother. especially people who had unfortunate relationship with their mother. They, I can't do this meditation, or it's not true because I'm an example of the exception. But that's what it is. It's an exception. Generally. Generally, mothers will give their life for their child, for their baby. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche identifies 4 types of kindness. One is giving, and we think of this body, human body, giving us this body, particularly this, perfect human rebirth. And the second kindness is undergoing all kinds of suffering to protect us, to keep us from danger. And the third is undergoing hardships in order to provide us with our temporal needs, food, clothing, and so forth. And then fourth is educating us in the ways of the world, teaching us to speak, how to behave, and so forth. So those are generally 4 areas of kindness. So here, generally, is not just remembering the kindness, but remembering, understanding that she bore many hardships and underwent suffering and took risks in being kind. So even worldly people are grateful for the kindness of the mother, which extends from conception until death. My mother's kindness is responsible for all the opportunities I have of making use of my physical body and of leading the sort of life that I do. If she hadn't taken care of me when I was in the womb, I wouldn't have been born alive. If she hadn't fed me well afterwards, I wouldn't have enjoyed the various functions of my physical body, such as using my eyes to see the most beautiful objects, my ears to hear the most beautiful sounds, my nose to smell the sweetest perfumes, my tongue to enjoy the most delicious tastes, or my body to enjoy sexual love and have many children. Also, to become rich by working with my body, speech and mind, and being skillful and creative with my hands. All this depends on my mother's kindness. So that was the mother's kindness in giving us our body. And guiding us from danger. From the time of my conception, she's been worried and concerned about me. When I was in the womb, she worried day and night, didn't move as freely as before, and always took more care of me than of herself. because of the great love and compassion she had for her baby. She took much care in eating, renouncing desirable food and eating only that which would not give me harm, avoiding foods that were too hot and too cold and so forth. At the time of my birth, she bore the extreme sufferings of feeling as if her body were about to split apart and had fear that her life was in danger. If my mother hadn't wanted to bear the suffering of childbirth, I wouldn't have been born. When I was a baby, in spite of disgust, she always kept me clean of caca, pee-pee and snot, etc. She always tried to keep me warm and protected and gave me the best clothes and food that she could. She would also keep the best part of her own food and other enjoyments for me. My mother told lies to give me a good reputation and to hide my faults and bad behaviour. To protect me from danger, she fought or did anything possible to help, taking more care of me than of herself. All in all, my parents took great care of my life with much suffering, creating bad karma by making other beings suffer so that I would be happy. I think mothers probably have an advantage doing this meditation because they know what they went through, you know, and how they feel about their child, and they can more easily relate. But when I think about my mother, all this applies, you know. Especially the part about hiding my bad behaviour. So the third kindness is in giving temporal needs. Moreover, because my present mother has been my mother in countless human lives, she has been infinitely kind to me since time without beginning. Nagarjuna said, the amount of milk we have drunk from the one mother, since beginning of time, is greater than the amount of water in the oceans. So if we think of the great oceans on Earth, and think the amount of milk we've drunk from just one mother's breast since beginning of time is more than that. If all the milk I've ever received from my mother could be collected, it would fill infinite space. And I could continue to drink it in future lives. Similarly, the food received from her is infinite as space, and all my past kakas and pipis, the result of that food, would fill an infinite immense extension. So would the clothes she gave me, the immense ocean of tears she shed out of worry for me, the immense ocean of tears she has shed out of worry for me, and the numberless bodies she sacrificed to protect my life. Because of the kindnesses this one mother gave me this one time as a human, there are those she gave us, all different beings, infinite times each. Kind of mind-bending. I've received exactly the same amount of benefit from each sentient being. Therefore, as my present mother has been infinitely kind to me since beginning this time, so has every other sentient being. And fourth is education. So she taught me to speak, sent me to school, made sure I did my homework. Studied, always wanted me to do better, be better. So if we think about the education we received, being able to speak, understand, write, read, you can easily trace it back to the kindness of our mother. In my case, my father too, he was a spelling Nazi. Although he couldn't, his English was, he was Russian. His English was questionable at times, but he used to check my spelling homework. We used to have to spell 10 words. I can't remember how it went. I mean, if they give you spelling homework in writing, there's nothing. I think they probably told us the words and we had to write them down and roughly and then do them nicely in an exercise book in 2 columns, 5 and 5. The exercise books we had were stapled in the middle. So if there was one spelling mistake, he'd tear the page out. And that of course meant the page on the other side had to go too. So by the end of term I had by far the thinnest exercise book in the class. And he was savage. Oh, do it again. So as a result of that, his kindness, doing that, my spelling isn't too bad. Although, you know, having to learn American spelling after learning English spelling was a bit of a challenge, but they taught me how to adapt. So then Rinpoche made this comment that when you have this heavy feeling, if you have a heavy feeling of this mother's kindness in this and previous lives, you think also that your father has been your mother. So then we do this meditation with a friend. So we did the equanimity, the friend, enemy and stranger. So whoever you visualized as a friend, who we put behind, remember? That person has also been our mother countless times. So when we do this meditation with sentient beings, remember we have our mother on the left, father on the right, enemy in front, most attached person behind, stranger over there somewhere. So we do it with each one. Think, this person that I hate, it's such a horrible person. You know, certain politicians come to mind. Think, this person's been my mother and infinitely kind to me since beginningless time, shown me great love and affection, can only concern more about me than herself in that life. So the enemy, so the mother is the mother, the father who's also been mother, friend, enemy and stranger have also been mother, all sentient beings. So when you do this meditation with the present life's mother, think how kind she's been in this life and in all previous lives, and you think of examples. You see the nature shows how kind the birds are with their babies and how they fight these huge predators to try and protect them, or they lead predators away from where the babies are, even at the cost of their life. Just so many examples we can see and think about. So when you have a heavy feeling of this mother's kindness, in this and previous lives, we do it with friend, enemy and stranger and all other sentient beings. So this meditation is with a mother in the human body. Then think of all the other kinds of life that this present life mother has been my mother, as a dog, as a cat, as a bird, as a fish, whatever. And then think with a father, friend, enemy, same point. So the third one is repaying the kindness. So Rinpoche says, receiving bodhicitta, realizing bodhicitta, depends on having great compassion. This depends on great love, which comes from the unselfish love that sees only beauty. This can be easily achieved by considering sentient beings as mother and remembering their kindness to me. This is done because of the two parents. Living beings cherish their mother more than their father. Even worldly people feel the responsibility of repaying help received from their mother or from other people, even if this help is in small, insignificant things. For instance, this help may be in satisfying my desires, by giving invitations to parties, offering food or cups of tea, or saying one or two sweet, empty words pleasing to my ears. Also, even deeply ignorant animals, such as dogs, help their master in return for the kindness received. So why can't I do the same? Yet repaying mother sentient beings in their worldly needs is not enough, nor is it the best way, because it can't extinguish their suffering or its cause. The best method of repayment is by helping them with the true realization of Dharma, because this helps them stop all their delusions and eventually to receive enlightenment. so that's just a very brief run through for these first 3 points, which is about as far as we'll get today. But you know, as with all these analytical Lamrim meditations, they have to be done over and over again, and slowly and carefully, and try to come to a conclusion. I mean, that's really the main point. To come to a conclusion, yes, all sentient beings have been my mother. Yes, all sentient beings as mother have been infinitely kind. Yes, it is my responsibility to repay this kindness, not just in a worldly way, but since I've met the Dharma and have the opportunity to study and understand it, to share it with them, to repay their kindness by giving them the Dharma, through which they can also attain enlightenment. So I think I heard one of the hardest things in all the Dharma teachings, which are often so hard to understand. Some are easy to understand. Some are very hard to understand. To realize, not just intellectually, but like Atisha had a feeling, recognizing all sentient beings as mother. That's one of the hardest things in all of Dharma to realize. Harder than emptiness. So, you know, it needs work. All right. Any questions? Speak up. Oh, okay.
Beginning of the center, was it Lama Zopa Rinpoche who made the Kurukulla Center?
Yes, Lama Zopa. On that first, we were at a teaching. I'd just arrived from London with Wisdom Publications in May '89, and Tim McNeil took over running Wisdom from me when we moved from London to Boston, and I moved to editorial side, and Rinpoche was giving teachings in Tim's house in Brookline, and 20 or 30 people, and that's when Geshe came to him and spoke to him, and then Rinpoche called me over and said, Geshe Jumper from Milarepa Center, Geshe-la thinks what I explained before, it'd be better to be down here. So why don't you start a centre for him, and we'll call it Kurukulla Center. It was like that. I was like, oh yeah. Why not? So we rented an apartment near Cleveland Circle, and Geshe-la and his interpreter, who was a Kopan monk, one of Damchala's colleagues, a little bit older than Damchala, I think, Nyingje, they came down, they lived in the apartment. So then the Sunday morning teachings, the Lamrim teachings, were at Wisdom Publications, and then the Wednesday nights, I mean, that tradition started even back then, Sunday mornings, Sundays and Wednesdays. The Wednesday nights were in the apartment. That's where he'd teach more philosophical topics like the ones Geshe does, and Lamrim and more general teachings from the Sunday mornings at Wisdom. I thought that was a kind of weird name, Kurukulla. I hadn't heard it before. But she's worked. Yeah, it's manifestation Tara, but I'm surprised we don't have a big Kurukulla tanka actually. Yeah, with the firing flower arrows. And we called our newsletter, those days we had paper newsletters, we called it the Lotus Arrow, was the name of the Kurukulla newsletter. I think there's some early editions online. Yeah, there's one in Geshe-la's room. A tanka, yeah. Well, you know, they're all tantric, but not all. But I mean, but it's there are some which shouldn't be publicly displayed. So maybe it falls into that category. Slightly wrathful, yeah. Have a guess. Got it in one. It's a Kala Chakra Stupa. Yeah, it's the Kala Chakra deity. Sure. Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the individual. I mean, there's all kinds of individual cruelty, so a bit hard to say, you know. And that's just a karmic situation, you know. I mean, if that's the situation, then you have to sort of step aside and look more generally at what normally goes on, you know, and understand that you know, because of some unfortunate past karma, this is this life situation. And it could be that the child was very mean to the mother, and that's, I mean, it's likely, because it's all, you know, what goes around comes around. And that's the terrible thing about karma, you know. So, and it becomes a hindrance to doing this meditation. So I think you have to understand the karmic evolution of the situation, and then look at other mothers and understand that these teachings are true generally, but there are exceptions. But you know, forgiveness and you know, not wanting to retaliate and trying to be kind, to respond to nastiness with love and kindness. It's a challenge, but that. Yeah, I don't know if there's like a formal step-by-step meditation to deal with that, but in general, it's the teachings on patience and overcoming anger, and you know, realizing the shortcomings of anger, how not just non-productive, how harmful it is, really, yeah, and to practice the antidote of love and patience. Those are the sort of things that you could do in that situation. But sometimes it's too difficult. You may just have to physically separate, and you know, I mean, I don't know if you're talking personally or what, but you know, maybe it's easier to take a break and then work on these positive attitudes by yourself, and then later when you meet your mother again, then it may be easier, having practiced, having trained, you know, like, soldiers train before they go into battle. So you train on your meditation cushion, and then you go into battle with your mother. At Thanksgiving, saw something, and I say, wow, she's amazing. The mother's such a nasty person, but she's so kind to her in return. That's inspiring, It can be like that, Huh? Yeah. Well, first of all, be glad that you realise that there is a situation like that, and not just buy into it and then become a clone of that bad thinking mother, I mean, like we do with any Dharma teachings, I mean, we have to overcome a lot of, we're all educated the wrong way in schools and university and in work everything is done for this life, and it's basically material, and spiritual things don't even come into the equation. So in the same way that we have to overcome that kind of conditioning, it's the same thing basically. It may be slightly more, even in a worldly sense, may be considered even more negative from a Dhamma point of view than ordinary negativity, such as, just working for money and power and position and prestige and reputation and so on. Comfort and trinkets and stuff, So it's really an extension of that, I would have thought. Right. Well, if you do, they'll smack you upside your head. So.
So what I'm saying is, it's harder because it's embedded in a more sub-level, subconscious level.
Yeah, that's true. But no one said this was going to be easy.
Right. So, I'm just kind of like curious, what does the Buddhist, is there any way that they've been able to help you to solve this type of life issue?
Well, yeah, look, so first, if you don't recognise it's an issue, then there's not much you can do. If you recognise an issue, you analyse it and see how it's affecting you and see what a more positive way of thinking about it is. And so you can try and meet it head on through understanding and having learned a correct way, having learned the way reality is through studying the Dharma, And so you can do it that way. But there's also more generally, because we've been doing bad things and having wrong thinking since the beginning of this time, that's why we have these purification practices. So we do, that's like the very first thing, as I always say, Lama Yeshe gave us to do, practice, was a 3-month Vajrasattva retreat, where you purify wrong ways of thinking, just in general. I mean, you bring instances to mind and purify them specifically, you know, sentient beings you've killed, lies you've told, things you've stolen, you know, you bring that to mind, recognize that as mistaken, you shouldn't have done that, it was, you didn't know any better, but you did it, and then do it then a blanket sort of thought, and not just in this life, but in all previous lives, the 10 non-virtuous actions, the pratimoksha vows I've broken, the bodhisattva vows, the tantric vows I've broken, the all the wrong actions I've done in relation to my gurus, the wrong actions I've done in relation to my refuge, in Buddha Dharma Sangha, you know, not respecting statues, putting things on top of Dharma books, stepping over Dharma books, arguing with, you know, having bad attitude toward the Sangha, harming monks or nuns, stealing from the Sangha. I mean, there's so many. We could sit here all day. We wouldn't even cover all the negative actions that we've done, you know, in beginning of lives. All that gets purified. A little bit like we did just at the beginning with breathing it all out in the form of black smoke. All those negative actions, all the wrong indoctrination by the mother. I mean, you know, all wrong ways of thinking, bad behaviour, negative karma, illness, goes out in the form of black smoke, disappears across the horizon, dissolves into nothingness, no longer exists anywhere. And it's replaced by enlightened energy, pure morality, understanding emptiness, bodhicitta, all this radiant white light that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas send us, that fills our body and mind with purity and you know, great compassion, bodhicitta. So Vajrasattva meditation is a similar kind of thing, except more complicated. And you know, but you develop it in a 3-month retreat. You do 100,000 long Vajrasattva mantra. Okay. Karen, you had a question? Yeah. Mm. Well, you know, if that works better for you to meditate on the kindness of the father than your mother, you can do that too. All sentient beings have been our father. I mean, whatever we say about the mother applies to the father, and your mother has been your father countless times, and the other way around, and everything. So, you know, the thing with these meditations is to find what's effective for your own mind, and do it that way. And if it doesn't work with either parent, for example, then you think of somebody else. Think, oh, I wish she'd been my mother, you know, your friend's mother, maybe kinder than your own. I mean, the thing is to develop positive states of mind and not to dwell on the negative. Because you can think, well, my mother, you know, all sentient beings have murdered me in previous lives, so why should I feel love and compassion for them? They've all killed me countless times. that is another meditation in another topic. That's the reason not to be attached to any particular sentient being, because they've all killed me in previous lives. It says that somewhere. Didn't we do it last week? I think did Chandrakirti say that in the equilibrium meditation? There's a reason not to be attached. So your mother's been so kind. She's been doing this. I'm so attached to her. No, that's not a reason to be attached to your mother. That's the reason to think not to be attached, because all sentient beings. So why single out this one in this particular little narrow window of this life when you can see more broadly? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So we emphasise in that role is their kindness, not their nastiness, because we're trying to develop positive attitude. Thanks, Margaret. Okay. It's okay, we're a little over time. Guys, thank you very much. So we'll continue with this next time. The sevenfold cause and effect. Yeah? Do a quick one. So we started generating bodhicitta. We talked about bodhicitta. We've created a lot of merit. So in order to protect it from being destroyed by anger or wrong views, or just general negligence, we'll dedicate the merit to its original intent, with the enlightenment of all sentient beings. May I swiftly, having gained